It's trial time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I really feel like I'm going to trial because we're talking trial today. We're going to react to it. It's time. I was like, let me look nice today, professional. So I don't know how I was going to cover this. First of all, these trials are like 3 hours long each. Like, they're 3 hour long. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. So my goal here is to watch. I skimmed through the opening statements myself because there are 2 hours for each person. Geez, court is no joke. So I was like, okay, and then we're just jumping right onto the stand with Eric and Lyle Menendez. So by the way, this is the trial of the Menendez brothers. I already know everything about it, so I just wanted to jump right into it. One of them is 1 hour and 30 some minutes long, and the other, Eric's, is like 3 hours, and that's just part one. So this is gonna be a whole continuance thing on my channel, y'all. I'm just gonna continue to watch them between cases, certain days, certain not. I'm gonna plan this out, but I was like, what's the best way to do it? Just jump right into it. So this is like 1 hour and 30 minutes long. We're not watching the whole thing. It's gonna be part one. So this was gonna be most likely 30 or 40 minutes we're gonna watch, because I'm gonna watch a lot of it. So we're just gonna jump right into it.
And we have both jury panels back in the courtroom and everyone else is present. The defense may call its next witness.
Defense calls Joseph Lyle Menendez.
Full name, spell your last name.
Joseph Lyle Menendez, Menendez.
Mr. Menendez, are you related to Eric Galen Menendez, who's seated here?
He's my brother.
And were your parents Mary Louise Menendez and Jose Menendez?
Yes.
And were you born January 10th, 1968?
I was.
If you look to the right, you will see various photographs of homes that you lived in. Do you recognize that chart as something you've seen before?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Wexford Terrace home in which you are pictured in a bassinet? The one in New York?
No, I don't.
And do you remember Cedar Grove, New Jersey? The second photograph.
No.
Is the first home you remember Hinsdale, Illinois?
Yes.
For the record, could we have the exhibit number, please?
Well, we'll get it later on. That's the exhibit that has photographs of various houses in it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Can you remember when you lived in Hinsdale, Illinois?
Yes.
And what do you remember from that point in time? Do you remember your father?
Yes.
What do you remember about your dad from that period in time?
I remember in the winter, and I remember lots of things from there.
Do you have any particular good memories of your dad at that point in time?
Yes.
Could you tell us one?
I remember the little dog, Tristesse. I was a puppy at that time. I remember her and my dad playing in the snow, and me running out to my dad and jumping on him and playing in the snow. I remember riding my bike.
Did your Aunt Terry and Uncle Carlos live nearby?
They lived across the street.
And did you used to ride your bike over to their house?
Yes.
And do you remember your little brother living in that house with you?
Yes.
And do you remember anything with regard to your little brother and him going over to your aunt and uncle's house?
I remember going over to get him when my mom told me he was over there. He wasn't supposed to be. Go get him and bring him back.
And do you have good memories of your mother also? Can you remember anything good about your mother?
Yes.
What do you remember that's good about your mother?
I remember in this house.
No, not necessarily.
Actually, vague and irrelevant.
I should try to focus a little bit.
Do you have something in particular that stands out in your mind that's a good memory of your mother?
I remember Christmases. Her, she was always up, it seemed, and she would be up when I got up, and then she would take us down to open the presents, even though my dad would sleep in. So we got to do that. That was usually a nice day. And I remember her taking care of the birds that would hit the window. Especially in Muncie, the birds would hit the window and be kind of like hurt or wounded in some way. And she would put them in a special cage she had for birds that did that. And she was just amazing with the birds. And I remember.
Yes, I do have to be pausing it, y'all. I'm gonna try not to pause it too much, but I have to. It's a long video, and I'm curious, and I still got stuff to talk about. Is it me, or was it a little interesting so far already with the, am I the only one that saw the shift change between the mom and dad questions? I feel like he really couldn't, and we're just at the beginning of him talking about his mom and dad. Like, he remembered some things about the dad back then, but I feel like it was like hard to come up with something for the mom back then. Maybe he was a dad's boy back then. You know, you had the mama's boys, the daddy boys who, that sound weird, but the mom and dad kids, father, son, who do more with the dad, who do more with the mom, or the mom just didn't do nothing with them. I'm just saying, you know, because, for example, I'm a mother's daughter. I do the most with my mom. I remember a lot of stuff about my mom. If somebody said, first of all, also the anxiety, I can only imagine up in court trial, geez, for the murder of your parents. But just that question, what do you remember of, like, when you was back then? Like, if they asked us what I remember back then, I was a little kid, so I remember all my siblings, all of us fought a lot, like, funny fights. But I remember she always threw us birthday parties. And then when she literally gave us whatever we wanted. She was a mother of 5. And she did what she had to do, so I remember a lot. I can only imagine the stress, though.
Watching.
Did you love your mom and dad?
Yes.
And on August 20th, 1989, did you and your brother kill your mother and father?
Yes.
Did you kill them for money? Is that no?
Answer?
No.
Did you kill them because you wanted to pay them back for the way they had treated you?
Excuse me, I reject that if you're waiting.
Overruled.
No.
Why did you kill your parents?
Because we were afraid.
Do you have a lot of nice memories from your childhood?
No.
Did you get to spend time at your grandparents' house?
Yes.
And was this your father's mother and father? That yes?
Yes.
What was good about being at your grandparents' house?
Hold on. That was wild already. Okay, I don't know the process of these lawyers. Jeez, is it just me, or that switch up was actually insane? I didn't think they was gonna get into it right now. So they said they killed him. Okay, but it's the fact that just the. I don't, is this their lawyer or the prosecutors? Is it, y'all, I'm really confused, because that tactic of, because it's a tactic, the tactic of getting them comfortable, talking about the family, did you murder your parents, get them emotional, and then get back to talking about the family. That's a crazy tactic. I don't know, that was weird. I didn't think we was getting into it right here, but it is trial though. But still, but you saw the emotion immediately. You know, some people wouldn't even have no emotions. That's if they're really, really cold-hearted. I don't know. I'm just saying. But I'm still on that tactic of getting them comfortable and then going for the punch and then just acting calm again. That was actually insane.
Everything was good about it. My grandmother was wonderful. And we stayed in bed all day and watched TV. And, just be like a never-ending stream of foods that we weren't supposed to eat. We watched the. My grandfather would come in whenever the Untouchables came on. We would watch that, and it would be a big deal. And then we'd go out, and the house was great. She had a magnolia tree outside. We'd climb up that, play with her in that, and there'd be a little patio that was enclosed, and the squirrels would be jumping from tree to tree, and my grandfather would laugh and tell us stories, and we'd watch that. We'd go to garage sales with my grandmother. There's lots of things.
Was this different from the life you had in your own home?
It's like a different world from my house.
You said you have some memories of the Hinsdale home. You remember riding your bike and bringing your brother back. You were about 4 years old when you moved out of Hinsdale, is that right?
Yes.
And then you moved to Muncie, is that correct?
Yes.
And once you moved to Muncie, did sports become an important part of your life?
Well, they were everything to my dad, and that was my whole life at that time.
And was doing what your father wanted of you important?
That's what made him happy, and that's what I wanted to do.
Why did you want to make him happy?
So he would love me.
What's the first sport you remember getting involved in on an organized basis?
Swimming.
Can I have the lowest photo? How old were you when you started swimming?
I think 4 years old.
And was this just a matter of going to the pool and swimming for fun, or was this more organized?
No, we had a coach, and my mom would take us, and in the winters we would go indoors and practice with the older kids. Well, actually, that was just me at that point. Eventually my brother and I.
And is this something where you had a half-hour lesson every week, or was it more frequent than that?
In the summer it was every day, and in the spring probably almost every day. But in the winter it was whenever the classes were, the practices was just like 3 times a week. And then sometimes my dad would take me on his own.
Now, when your dad would take you on his own, was it the same type of training session that you'd have with swimming teachers, or was it different?
It was very different because swimming, basically the coach just is calling out the laps or the kind of things that you should do, and he might occasionally come over and help someone that's having a problem with a particular stroke or something of that sort. But with my dad, it was very, it was one-on-one. And he'd stay in the pool with me and swim next to me, and sometimes we would play, or it would just be him and I for, usually they gave you an hour. It was like hour free time swimming, and I would take that time to train with my dad.
And were these good times for you or bad times?
Sometimes it was good.
And sometimes it was bad? And what was it like when it was bad?
Well, I didn't really like the swimming. And sometimes he was rough with the swimming.
What do you mean he was rough with the swimming?
I'm sorry?
Definitely wrong.
Overruled. You may ask your question.
like they were just drills, and I would swim laps, and sometimes he would just yank me out of the water by my hair, and he would shake you, and he took it very, very seriously. He had, he was training to be an Olympic swimmer at one point, and so he had all kinds of different methods and how to expand your lungs and how long I should be able to hold my breath. And we practiced him holding me under the water, how long I could take it.
What do you mean how long you could take it? Would it say, I'm going to hold you under for 30 seconds and then you go under, or what would that be like?
We would go under, and I would fight him to get air, and then he would give me air. And we would keep doing that, and I would be able to do it less and less time. It was very rough. And
what do you mean you would fight him to get air?
Let me pause out here. God, what is it like? What do you mean you're fighting to get air? I'm trying to breathe. God, what does she understand? I don't know why I feel like I'm in court, y'all. Sorry. I don't know why they shouldn't know why they still on that part. It's like, geez, he said he did not like it. I'm just saying that, y'all, it's just, I don't know. Lawyers make stuff so complicated. He answered the questions. He said he couldn't breathe. Okay, why is she still trying to get this? Anyways, if this is true, these type of parents are interesting and just mad they didn't really make it in that sport. They try everything to put it on their kids to do what they wish they've done. And I don't understand that. You'd be like, why would you want your child to, if your child don't want to do something, how are you going to force that on them? And there's a lot of parents that do that with basketball, with football, a lot with football. You see men try to put their sons in football, and a lot of times they don't even like it, but it's just because they wish they'd done it. Or you have women who do dancing and stuff, and they didn't make it, so they want their daughter to go for it, so they're tiger moms and tiger parents. It's not a good way to raise your child, because your child will end up resenting you. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Push away from him or pinch him or do whatever I could, hit him underwater. My dad was unaffected by all that, so that's what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to fight to get air so that I could go beyond what I would normally just take if he said stay underwater as long as you could. And this would expand my lungs. And there were other things that made it, for me, rough. And I just was so nervous about swimming. It wasn't just my dad either. Just the practices themselves made me very nervous. The older kids the guy would be blowing whistles, and he would have to dive in. And I didn't like the water. It was always very cold, and it was, for some reason, I didn't like it.
When your dad would hold you under and make you fight to get air, how would you feel when you finally got up to the surface?
Just relieved to get air.
Would you physically have any effects?
I would be crying. This would be very rough, like I said. And
what did your dad do when you'd come up crying?
take a short break. We usually wait 30 seconds or so. We'd do it again.
And how many times would you do these lung expanding exercises?
That way we wouldn't do it too many times. And we would try to do it a couple times a week. And then we would test a couple times a week if I could go farther, like swim a whole lap underwater and then come back, and how far I would get. And we would try to go farther.
And what ages were you when these exercises were going on?
I'm not sure, but by between 6 and till about 10, I would say. Maybe a little bit longer.
And do you have any other memories of swimming that are painful for you?
The whole thing was very bad for me. And mostly I remember pleading with my mother not to take me, stalling so I would be late, incredible stomach aches. I think from the nerves, where I would be nauseous and I would vomit.
What would your mom say when you'd ask her to not make you go?
She would just say, "Get ready, let's go." And she would always threaten me with telling my dad. But when it came to the swimming, I was pretty resistant. I didn't seem to care as much as I did normally. I was pretty crazed about the swimming. It made me so nauseous and nervous. The drilling, the intensity, the underwater stuff was very hard for me. I remember purposely swimming into the wall in practice so that I would be injured, so that the coach would say, "Okay, you can sit in the locker room and miss the afternoon sessions." And I would do all kinds of things, anything to get out of it.
Was there any particular reason that swimming was so important? You said your father had trained.
Well, my grandmother, I had heard, was a champion swimmer. Even my dad's sisters, who were less into sports, were very good swimmers. And he was training to be an Olympic swimmer at the time that he had to leave Cuba. And he felt he could have gone all the way. And at least in the beginning, he felt that I could. And then that just clearly wasn't going to be.
Did you start playing soccer at some point in time?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was, I don't know, my grandfather was out there with my dad, working with me by the time I was 5 also.
Did you like soccer?
I really like soccer.
Your Honor, I have 3 pictures I'd like to put up which have already been marked. They're exhibits 192, 193, and 194 from your coach.
And also, perhaps you can identify the exhibit by the number on that.
What kind of involvement did you have? Or did he have with your soccer? Just coming to the games, or was he more involved in that?
No, my dad was.
He don't even look happy in that picture. It's crazy. Pictures do speak volumes, especially when you see the emotion and stuff. If that's his dad. Yeah, he don't even look happy. First of all, somebody need to leave the courtroom with all that coughing.
Was there
get some
whenever I
water.
played soccer, which we usually reserved for when he was there, because it was technical for him. He had a certain way he wanted me to play, and didn't feel it was productive for me just to be kicking a ball around when he wasn't there. So soccer, I waited till he was around.
Now, when you were playing soccer, I presume there was a coach?
Not when I was 5, but eventually there was, like by the time I was 7, I would think.
And once you were on an organized team with a coach, did your dad's involvement stop?
No.
Well, how would your dad behave when you were playing organized soccer?
In practices, he would be very involved, and the coaches would allow that. Pretty much it would be like a private lesson with him, and then the team was playing also. You know, he would be yelling things from the sidelines. Sometimes he would come out and grab me and take me off the field and talk to me, put me back in, and the coaches would pretty much ignore him, both of us, and we would play. And I was getting a lot of extra training, and so I was at a level where it seemed like that was why the coaches would be tolerating that, because I would be one of the better players when the game started, and a big help to the team. So they basically just let my dad do what he wanted to do. And,
Did you get to be friends with the other kids on the team?
no, not really.
Why not?
I just didn't spend any time with them, and my dad didn't want that.
Why not?
It's just part of his philosophy. If I started becoming friendly with these other players, I wouldn't be competitive.
If if your team lost,
If that's true. And don't it suck though? I told you when you got parents like that force you to be in sports. Because there's a lot of parents that do that. A lot of kids just want to go to school, have friends, have fun. I was luckily, like my mom did not put me in sports. She didn't care if we wanted to do sports. I didn't want to do sports. My sister did. I had a sister who did soccer. I had a sister who was in ROTC. And I had two younger ones who loved band, and then eventually everybody just stopped liking what they did. But we just went to school, lived a normal life, had friends, graduated, went to college. It's like that's how it should be. If your kids don't want to do sports, they don't have to do sports. It's not good forcing sports on children at that. Like once again, they would just end up resenting you, especially when you're always at the games. Like why? Like at practice, not even the games, at practice. And if that's true, it's like if it's true that he wasn't able to make friends because he was never around, that's a lot. Think about that's just crazy. Like once again, if I say if all this is true, just think about it. If you got your dad training you roughly, and then you're at practice and he's also there messing everything up, annoying you, and then you just got all that stress. Okay, you don't have time to make friends because you're constantly playing sports. Dang, that really sucks. I didn't even know we're almost at like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, so I'm gonna see how long I can keep this going, because then I'm gonna have to restart my camera soon.
would they all get together and go to the pizza parlor afterwards, even though they lost?
They would.
Did
Often.
you get to go?
No.
What was your dad's philosophy about that?
He was very belittling of the coach for allowing and the players to be going to pizza parlors to hang out after a loss. And he believed all through sports that the people that win are the ones that hate losing. And the idea that there would be smiles on kids' faces after they lost the game was really, it's just outrageous to him. And if I even went near anybody, or you know, I had to look, and would purposely look pretty devastated after matches, pretty similar to that picture, that my dad would be satisfied, because he would be very angry.
Did your dad take losing a soccer game when you're 8 years old as seriously?
It was very serious to him.
Why?
Well, partly because of what I said before, he had his own dreams, and he wanted me to achieve those, and because I was the most important thing in his life.
And I keep forgetting that he is the older brother. Also, can I hurry up and throw something at y'all real quick? Just think about it. You're on court, and I'm listening to him, and I'm already taking notes, by the way. That's what I keep looking down for. But we still have to remember that they did kill somebody. So, I'm over here looking at the expressions of his face. I don't know how people can be so, like I said, you know, it's a lot of, I believe, allegedly, like, I believe there's a lot of emotion behind it. A lot of people do not believe that. Believe what you want. Okay, this is just my thought process and belief of this whole thing. But there's I believe there's a lot of emotion on it. Maybe that's why. Well, he cried, and then you can see he cried when when she threw that "Did you kill your parents?" And then we're basically starting all the way at the back at the beginning of everything, and the controlling dad, tiger parents, the mom did not help the backstories with all this, and yeah, I just think it's interesting how. I wouldn't ever do anything like that. But I'm saying, if this was me, if I'm in that position, would I be able to talk so calmly? I don't know. I probably wouldn't be able to talk at all. I'd probably be so shocked. I don't know. But a lot of stuff happened in this case, so yeah. That's just what I wanted to say, y'all.
And what I did was serious.
Why were you the most important thing in his life?
I don't know, that's just the way it was.
Did it have something to do with your place in the family, or
The first
was
child.
your brother as important to him as you were?
Oh, not at the time. No, not the
My
first
brother
child.
was unimportant.
How could you
He
tell
pretty
that?
much believed in, well, I did believe that the firstborn, was the one that carried the line. I carried my dad and his dad and his dad and his dad's first name, Joseph or
I never knew he was
Jose.
there.
And that was really all he cared about. And to some degree, I felt that was similar feelings from my grandparents and everybody around, that the focus seemed to be on me. And that might be partly because my dad's focus was on me. But I'm not really sure why else.
So you got a lot more attention than your brother, is that right?
Well, I had his complete attention, and I don't think my brother, I didn't even think about my brother really didn't even exist for me until later in life. I don't think either of us thought about Eric too much.
So he was just ignored.
He was not completely ignored. Dad would interact with him and be harsh with him at times, play with him at times in ways that he didn't with me. Just didn't seem to be very concerned with what was happening with Eric. He might, if he was in a bad mood, he might slap Eric or push Eric away. If he was in a good mood, he might hang out with Eric. But it was different. Like, I had to be doing something. I was achieving something or something of importance. And it was very different.
So you had more attention. Would you say there were more expectations of you also?
Definitely.
Was one of the things that your father made decisions about with regard to your sports training the food that you would eat?
Yes.
And throughout your childhood, did his ideas about the proper foods change?
Not too much. I mean, it was always very important to him.
Were you told when you could eat it?
No. I mean, there were some meals he felt it depended on what was happening that day. If there was a practice, it would be 3 hours before. He wouldn't tolerate 2.5 hours. It would be 3. And then there would be certain foods involved. And if there wasn't a practice and I was just going to school, I would just know the things that I had to stay away from or I had to eat.
Such as?
Stay away from sugar, dairy products. That changed because there were times when dairy products were then a big thing. It depended on what he was reading, whatever was in the literature. If it was the Eat to Win diet, if it was something else. Usually he had books that would list what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then like strategies for how early. But he changed his philosophy a lot, because I remember him reading about Pancho Gonzalez would fast during the tournament. And so I did that for a period of time where I would just not eat for 12 hours at a time, have a small meal, not eat all day again. That wasn't working very well, so we switched.
How old were you when you were doing the Pancho Gonzalez fasting program?
13, when I was just becoming real competitive.
And you were playing a lot of tennis at that time, I take it.
Yes,
How many hours?
It was only tennis at that point.
How many hours a day were you playing tennis?
At 13?
Yes.
Probably like 45 hours a week.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. 4 or 5 hours?
40 hours a week.
40 to 45 hours a week? And this is when you're 13 and you're going to school also? Yes?
Yes.
Now, did you sit down and talk with your dad about these food programs and sort of decide together what you were going to do in terms of your diet? Or did he decide?
I could pick out foods from the different categories.
When you said he wanted you to stay away from sugar, from junk food, that was an important theme with him, I take it.
Yes.
And if you violated that rule, would he enforce the rules?
Well, sometimes I violated the rule, yeah, and he would enforce the rules.
Was there a situation where you bought some food during the time you were playing soccer that you weren't supposed to buy?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was about 11, almost.
And what happened?
Is it at the Lawrenceville Deli? At the Lawrenceville Deli, we stopped there routinely on the way from or to the soccer fields from where our house was in Pennington. And my dad would be buying the things he felt he wanted for me, and the guy behind the counter was very friendly. They'd had the place forever, and he knew me every time I came in my soccer clothes. Basically, he sneaked me in a bag some pastries and cookies and stuff. He just sort of put it in with everything else my dad was buying, and I took it out when my dad wasn't looking.
Did your dad find him?
He found them on me outside the store.
Were you eating them?
I was eating them. Yes.
And what did your dad do?
He just grabbed him out of my hand, and he just grabbed me by the neck. He just punched me in the stomach.
Did he say anything?
No, he dragged me to the car, and I don't believe that he said anything. And I knew what was obvious.
Excuse me, Your Honor, could you ask the witness to keep your voice up?
Yes, if you could speak up a little bit.
Jeez. Major child abuse. By the way, I'm not trying to get annoyed, y'all. I would tell that lawyer, can they speak up? Because they speak in low tone, too. But anyway, major child abuse up in here. Child abuse even before, I think I would say it's abuse even with the whole tiger parent thing of making kids do something they don't want to do. Punching, if that's true, punching him in the stomach. Wow. Got a feeling that it's very much true. You see that in a lot of those parents that do that. By the way, if y'all want to know, the reason why I'm watching this one, it's important. We have to know the backstory of it all. Okay, we're at 30 minutes, but I'm going to keep it going. I'm a little longer. This is a long trial. I'm going to keep it going a little longer. I can't watch this whole thing right now, but I'm going to let it go on to see how long, y'all. Probably 30 more minutes. We'll see. We have to watch this. It's giving us a backstory of what he says, and but you can remember a lot in your childhood, and a lot of it is not good in this story. It's very controlling. But is it just me, or once again, y'all, I'm going to say this, they killed the dad and the mom. Isn't it weird? And maybe it's not, they're talking about him, but I don't know. I feel like I just have I don't know what they're feeling, but it's like a gut, like just a punch in the stomach. But that man did abuse them, and I believe that. So maybe it's like a sense of relief, and they can talk about it. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
The picture that's up on the board with you in the yellow shirt, is that in the back seat of a car?
Yes.
And is that your father with you?
Yes.
And does that scene look familiar to you?
Yes.
Is that a shirt of a soccer team you played for?
That's the Swiss Bakery in Delhi.
And that was the soccer team?
Yeah, that's one of the house league teams, not the all-star team that this picture is in here. There would be like 16 teams in the house league. Lots of boys would play, and myself. And then they would pick certain players to play on like an all-star team. This was one of the house league games. And we would wear the t-shirt of the sponsor, and that would be the sponsor.
And after you played soccer, would your dad talk to you about what your performance had been?
Yes.
And was it supportive, like you did a great thing today, or I'm really proud of you, or what would be the tone of those conversations?
No, he didn't believe in that. We worked on different aspects of the game, what I could have done. There was always things that I could have done much better. Depended if we won or lost. If we had won, if I'd scored a goal or so, and usually in these games I would score a goal or do something significant probably, and we would just focus on the other things that I should have done better. It wouldn't be so bad.
You said your dad didn't believe in things like that when I asked you if you said complimentary things. What do you mean he didn't believe in things like that?
He just didn't believe in praise. He just felt that you just have to keep going to the next level of play so we could get to where we wanted to go. And that wasn't going to happen with wasting time patting ourselves on the back and just losing our focus on what we had as a goal. And so I never looked for praise.
Did you feel like there was a lot of pressure to live up to your dad's expectations?
Just tremendous pressure.
Did you think you could ever meet his expectations?
No. And I don't think he felt I could either.
Can I have the dad's picture? Here, and I have 3 additional pictures which I've shown to the prosecution that I'd like to have marked as next in order.
All right, so starting at 216 would be the next exhibit.
Yes.
And how old were you when you started playing tennis?
I started late, like, but I started
Before
about
there was a
6.
TV screen, y'all. You know they did do TV screens at court now.
Me on the right. I don't know who the other was.
Speak us up a little bit.
Well, that also wanted me to get to a certain skill level where I could play with the older kids and didn't waste time with the very basic stuff that
So much tiger
some of the
parenting in
coaches
this.
wanted to do, depending on the coach. But he was a really nice, softer guy and took the kids through slowly. So my dad, because we used to watch, we'd go over and we sort of watch at first because my dad would play. And he decided that we would work first on the public courts and get to a certain level, and then I could join into these drills that he really wanted me to be involved in. So that's...
You were here when your cousin Alan Anderson testified
Right.
about playing tennis at the park. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he indicated when you first started playing, you couldn't hold a racket with one hand. Is that correct?
That's right.
Why?
Well, I was 6, and I wanted to use a junior racket. I'm actually using a junior racket in that picture, which John had at the club. And those are the types of things that John would do that my dad hated. He wanted me to use a full-size racket, and
He wanted you to use a full-size racket. Who wanted you to use a full-size racket?
my dad wanted me to use a full-size
Well,
racket.
I was just about to say it. They cut people
And
off like it
we
ain't
would
nothing
wrap
in
the
court,
grip
y'all.
up a little bit higher, and I would hold the racket choked so that I could hold it
With 2 hands?
with 2 hands on both sides.
Were you too small to hold it with one hand?
Yes.
During the course of your playing tennis, did you have a series of coaches?
Yes.
Did you make a list
Somewhat, but
early years, say before you were 10? How many hours a day would you say, or how many hours a week would you say you were playing tennis before you were 10?
when I was 10.
In addition to the playing of tennis, you said he had tapes. Would he go over tapes with you in the various sports?
Yes, we had lots of tapes on each sport.
And would you just sit down together, father and son, and watch the tapes, or would this be some sort of a teaching session?
There would be training tapes. They would be, I used to go to a soccer camp, Patamali soccer camp, and they would furnish us with tapes there. They would have tapes of South American players giving instruction, Pele, other well-known players, I don't remember the names, but they would also have some basic American soccer instruction tapes which weren't too good. But then we would have the tennis tapes. That would be the most extensive because he would tape all the matches, the great matches, and he would have parts segmented for me to watch, or games, or he would have the slow motion button, and we would watch the service motion or whatever.
Okay, I need that person. Somebody need to leave the
He also
courtroom
had
while they're coughing.
specific, like they were called Cybervision tapes, made by Stan Smith, Bob Lutz, which would actually be like computerized stroking tapes and actual play that you only see like dots of the body, and I would imitate that, and we would just go through it instructionally.
And when you say you would imitate it, while the tape was going on, would you be doing something or just sitting there? Or?
No, we would be watching intently, and he would be telling me, see that, you know, and sometimes I would have the button, he would say go back, and he would go over to TV and he would point to the form, see how his elbow's bent, your elbow drops too much, you have to keep it up. A million things that would just be technical oriented.
And when you would watch these tapes, would this be a 15-minute session or something longer?
Okay, this is a point where I'm like, I will be thinking, is anybody going to cut and be like, what does this got to do with the crime? Because I know they're doing the back of it, like trying to hear the back story of it, but geez, they're on this freaking tennis and freaking, like, I don't know if I feel like I'll be asleep in here. Maybe it's just because it's talking about the sport, just this section, because it's just nonstop. I just want to speed it up, because I'm like, what does this have to do with the crime? But I know it's like the backstory. And I guess they're trying to see what kind of dad the dad was, what kind of person he was. So, yeah.
Was this in Muncie?
Yes.
And was the dog who attacked him Khan?
Yes.
And was Khan the relative of the dog who bit you on the face?
Yes.
You have a scar on your right cheek?
Yeah.
From that dog bite? So after Khan attacked Jerry, was that the end of Jerry coming in the house?
Yes, it was. He was just traumatized by it because the dog was let in, and this dog was ferocious. If it smelled another person in the house, it just tore down the stairs, and he was playing ping pong with me. It came running down the stairs and just bit him in the groin, and it was this huge dog fight, and my mom separated Jerry and the dog and got the dog by the jaws, and Jerry left, and I almost never saw him again.
Jerry, you mean?
Yeah.
The dog stayed with you, though?
Yeah.
Did you eventually have to get rid of the dog?
Eventually, the police said that we had to destroy Khan because of various violent incidences with the dog and other dogs and other people. And my dad didn't want to do that. And he had this idea that if he gave it away for a while, he might be able to get it back when things calmed down. So we gave it to a family that had, I think, much older kids. I think they were college kids or whatever, on like a farm type of. And then I heard that the dog had been destroyed eventually for more problems.
Getting back to your tennis. When you would be playing, when you would be practicing, would your father be there participating in your practices?
In tennis?
Yes.
Not every time, but most of the time my dad was there. Anytime he could be there, he would be there.
And when you were playing in tournaments, was your father there?
Yes, or he would fly in, and a lot of times I remember I would start the first couple points, and then I'd see my dad show up in a business suit, having just arrived.
Would you be glad to see him?
Yes.
Did he make it more fun for you to be in tournaments?
No.
Why not?
Well, whenever my dad was around, it was very heavy pressure, and
Right there. I'm actually surprised he said yes. I'm pretty sure he wanted to say no. I feel like that was a lie. Because after all this and the Tiger parenting and then him saying that he didn't want him nowhere near him, basically doing the tennis stuff, why would you say yes? You were not happy. I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't want nothing to do with that man. But maybe it was just, I don't know. I don't know. It was interesting though. I hear people mowing the lawn. That's how I said, y'all just, I'm just going to play y'all going to hear the regular audio rather than the lawn, okay?
I preferred to be just with the coach. But for some reason, when I was away from my dad, I had trouble playing. And so I remember the semifinals of one big championship tournament with a rival that I had beaten earlier in the spring in front of my dad easily. This was a big match. There were like 50 people watching, and I lost 6-0, 6-0. And my coach looked at me like, oh my God, how are we going to tell your dad? And, he was like pale, and sometimes I just couldn't play if my dad was not there, and I don't know, sometimes it was the nerves of just having to explain to him the match.
What do you mean, explain to him the match? If your father wasn't there, would you have to tell him about the match?
Every game, exactly how the match progressed.
Now, when you say exactly how the match progressed, would you call your father at work or see him when he got home? How would you tell him?
I call him immediately. He wanted to know immediately.
So would he be at work?
He would normally be either at home, or sometimes he would be I guess at tournaments he was mostly at work, but I call him after practices, and I would be playing late, and he would get home and expect a call from either the coach or from me. Or we'd reach him at the office. His secretary would always say he's out to lunch, he's busy. As soon as he found out it was my tennis coach, he just walked in, and then he'd want everything, exactly the temperament.
Tell me what you would tell him.
He would talk to the coach first, and I could hear my coach saying, he did real well. I know it was a close match, depending on whatever happened. Just describe the match, kind of. And then he'd say, your father wants to talk to you. And Dad would ask me to have the coach leave the room so he could talk to me in private. And he would say, tell me what happened. I heard this, what happened. I want to know, why did this happen this way? As far as, to give you examples, like, he would say, you elected to serve first. And I'd say yes. And he'd say, okay. Did you go through the first 3 games like we arranged? Because he would have, exactly what I was supposed to do for, the first almost 25 points, where I would just have a set strategy. Sometimes it would go off during the point, but pretty much I would either serve and volley to the deuce court, stay back on the ad court, and if it was 30-all, he'd have different strategies. And I'd explain to him how I followed those strategies, and he'd want to know why they didn't work out. And I'd do my best to explain in a way that didn't admit that my backhand was off or that I wasn't concentrating or things like that.
Now, would these be conversations that would last 2 or 3 minutes, or how long would you be explaining in detail what happened?
An hour and a half. About an hour and a half, because we'd also then have to go into what was happening tomorrow. And he'd want to know exactly what I did nationally. And nationally, I was not where he wanted me to be. So we didn't really worry about, the 5 states thing. We concentrated on the nation, what the other players were doing. And I was having trouble nationally, and that was always on his mind.
So this wasn't a great moment for you then? I mean, making a #1 ranking in the Middle States Tennis Association was not that important. Did it seem to be?
Rephrase the question, please.
Yeah. Did it seem to be important? I mean, did your dad seem to be real happy about this? Or?
He really didn't say much about it. It just happened. The rankings came up. I noticed I was #1, but again, we were thinking nationally. It was so what? And yeah, that was an upsetting year because we had lost again Family of the Year tennis for New Jersey, to a family called the Leshleys, and my dad was pissed, and my mother called in and to complain and the whole thing, because my brother had a very good year that year also. But we lost that, so he was very upset. He basically was upset with my brother for not having been number one also, which would have clinched it. And he was like 5 or something, 4 or 5.
So your brother was number 4 or 5. If he'd been number 1, it would have clinched it, meaning you would have gotten the tennis family of the year.
Right.
Why don't you pick a point here when it's convenient, we'll take a break.
One more question and then we'll take a break. Did your sports activities seem to take up all of your dad's free time?
It took up any time he wasn't working. Yeah.
And did your mother ever express any resentment about that?
Oh yes, many, many times.
What would she say?
She would say many things. She would say that I ruined her life, and she would explain to me why and how I ruined her life.
What would she tell you about why and how you ruined her life?
Well, if she wasn't in a tantrum and she was just speaking normally, she would just explain all the things that she could have been: an actress, broadcasting. I learned about her aspirations with disappointments of not being a child actress and wanting to go on in some acting or broadcasting sense. And she told me that she had a job in New York to be a hostess at a restaurant, that she said she could make almost $50,000 a year, and that then suddenly she had gotten pregnant, that she had not wanted to get pregnant, that my dad had then forced her, well, gave her an ultimatum: either you leave or you stay home with my son and quit. And so she chose to stay home, and essentially her life was pretty much ruined from that point on. But then we would have more discussions about how much money was being spent on my tennis, all my dad's time on my tennis, who cares, and then I would hear about the lessons she couldn't have, the things that she couldn't have. And then there would be other times when she was in a tantrum. And then it would just come out very, in a rage.
What would come out in a rage?
She would be throwing things and screaming and flailing and wanting and trying to hit you and saying that you're a bastard. And she cursed a lot. And wait till your dad gets home, I'll tell him the things that you didn't do today, and I wish you were never born, and why can't you be like your brother, and what's the matter with you? And then I would try to say something. She would say, shut up, I don't want to hear it. You're stupid, I hate you.
How old were you when you heard things like, I wish you were never born?
Seven.
Okay. That's the end of that area now.
Okay, we'll take a recess, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll resume at
If this is true, jeez. And y'all, I'm just talking based on the things he said. Because it's crazy, because you know how many parents are really like that? It's actually, oh my God. Just like, and I'm just saying, just in general, for any parent, because there are parents really that do that, abuse your child mentally and physically. It's telling your child I hate you. If that's true about anything, we're just going to say it's true. I'm just going to say, okay. It's really, that's disheartening for the child to hear 7 years old saying I hate you. How did he ruin your life when you got pregnant? I don't understand that.
all the jurors are back in court and we're ready to proceed. The witnesses are on the witness stand. You may proceed with your questioning.
Lyle, as you were growing up, and I'm directing your attention now to when you were living in the Muncie house and then later in the Pennington house. Were there pornographic films that were made available to you and your brother?
Yes.
And where did these films come from?
My dad brought them home with other videos.
And would you and your brother sneak and watch them, or how would you see them?
No, my dad would, we would just watch them together.
With your dad? And what's the earliest age that you remember being shown films like this?
I remember some films in Muncie at the end. Mostly I remember in Pennington House.
And what types of things would be portrayed in these films?
It was mostly violence, sexual violence. I remember a whole bunch of the films. There would be films with gang rapes. There was one film centered around a woman that was riding her bike and was abducted and brought to a forest and gang raped. And there was another different film where there was females, 3 females attacking another female, and the same in the men's locker room with 3 guys and another guy, violent sexual acts. And there was another film that it was like a film within a film, where this filmmaker was making a lot of money selling these violent sexual pornography that he would take place in a red room. And then the premise of the film is they eventually find out that the killings and the sexual violence in the red room is real, and that's why the films are so good. And there were lots of them.
Did your father show these films to other people beside you and yourself and your mother?
Only as like just shock value.
How do you mean? Who would he show them to?
He showed them to that I remember Peter Goldsmith. He showed them to neighbors in the Pennington house when they would come over at times. It seemed like he would tell me in advance he was going to do this, and it was more to embarrass my mother than anything else. But he would just put on this video, and people would sort of settle in, and then he'd shock them. He showed them for some of my friends that would come over every once in a while. He'd just throw one on, and it really wasn't very bothered by him, and we would watch them together.
Do you ever take photographs of you and your brother?
Yes.
And what would the circumstances be in which he would take photographs?
He would take photographs of us, our private parts.
And would he have you come in and pose for these photographs, or how would that happen?
I would just, if we were in the showers or bathtub or changing, he would just use the same camera that my mother used, and then he would come in and take just a photograph or two, and he wouldn't say anything, and then he would leave.
Do you ever show you those photos?
No.
Excuse me. Here, I have some photographs. I have shown to the district attorney and King Markson. Photograph.
Yes.
And who are the people in that photograph?
Mom and Dad, myself, the Baralt family, children, and Aunt Terry and Uncle Carlos.
Could you just identify that for the record so that we don't have...
222, Your Honor.
All right.
Gotta cut that. I didn't think they were showing everything, and you can't show that stuff on YouTube. Child safety. But already I'm talking about Jeez, this is very traumatizing. They have the pictures, you guys. Like, this is the thing. I'm surprised that there are people and journalists who believe that they were not abused. It's like there's pictures, geez, it's very detailed. That man was not a good man. I'm talking about the dad. It's very traumatizing. And I can't show that stuff on YouTube.
The birthmark on his right wrist. It's a large brown birthmark.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Did your dad used to have talks with you about sex between men?
Yes.
And what types of situations would he talk to you about?
He would talk about the bonding between men, going into battle or in competitions, mostly with regards to battle and history, and that sexual interaction and touching and hugging, but also sex was throughout history was something that men that had gone into battle had done together. Had me read passages about it.
What do you mean, had you read passages about it? What would he give you to read?
Excuse me, Your Honor, can we have a time period, please?
Yes.
What time are we talking about in your life?
I was talking about when I was 6.
What would he have you read?
He had history books with passages outlined, various battles and strategy, but in terms of on this subject, there would be particular passages about Greeks, soldiers having had sex with each other before they went into battle as a way of bonding with each other so they have a stronger connection. And he would talk about the same thing with regards to sports and he and I.
And did he talk about fathers and their firstborn sons in this regard?
Not in this. Not that that's what. I'm not understanding the question.
Did he talk about, you said he talked about soldiers and having sex between them as a bonding mechanism.
Yes.
Did he talk about teachers and students?
No.
Did he?
Oh, yes, he did actually. Not teachers. He talked to me about, I don't know, they were like lecturers or traveling lecturers, professors, and they would have arrangements with very close special students, young boys. And they would have sex and they would touch each other.
And did he talk about it with regard to fathers and sons?
He talked about it with regard to our relationship as being very special and our family history with the firstborn and the father.
And what was special about the relationship of the firstborn and the father?
That it was special, and that that was really all that mattered, was the firstborn, and that the sons should do what the fathers say, and then they grow up and they become like the father, and the father teaches them and molds them, and someday me and my son do the same.
You know, that sounds like something like a cult. Cults talk like that. They talk like that's what it sounds like. That's what it's giving. Jeez, this is. I'm gonna leave all of my thoughts to the end. I didn't think I was gonna be watching the whole thing, but I guess we're gonna be watching the whole thing. I'm gonna try to speed it up a little bit because I don't want my camera to get too hot. I've been recording for a while, but I got so invested in this.
And between the ages of 6 and 8, did your father have sexual contact with you?
Yes.
And how did it start?
Just started with, after sports practices, he would massage me, and we would have these talks, and he would show me, and he would fondle me, and he would ask me to do the same with him, and I would touch him, and we would undress.
Where would this
and it
take
was
place?
in my bedroom.
And how often would this happen?
Like 2 or 3 times a week.
And for how long did this happen?
Not too long. It began to change.
When did it begin to change?
I'm not sure exactly at what time, but almost close to when I was 7.
And how did it change?
Just became more involved.
What do you mean more involved?
We would be in the
At some point, did he do some other things to you?
Yes.
What else did he do to you?
He used objects,
What kind of objects?
a toothbrush, and some sort of shaving utensil, brush.
And what would he do with the toothbrush?
Well, in the bedroom, we'd have what we called object sessions, and just slide my pants down or take my pants off. Sometimes it'd be for a short period of time, sometimes longer. Just lay me on the bed. And, he'd have a tube of Vaseline, and he just played with me.
And was there some point in time when he decided to use something besides the toothbrush?
Yes.
And did he try to anally penetrate you with something else?
He did.
And what was it?
He raped me.
Did you cry?
Yes.
Did you bleed?
Yes.
Were you scared?
Very.
Did you ask him not to?
Yes.
How did you ask him not to?
I just told him, I don't. I'm sorry. I just told him that I didn't want to do this, and that it hurt me. And he said that he didn't mean to hurt me, and he loved me.
Was that important to you, that he loved you?
Yes, very. But I still didn't want to do it.
Did you tell your mom?
Yes.
What did you say to your mom?
I told her to tell Dad to leave me alone. And he keeps touching me.
What did your mom say?
She told me to stop it. And that I was exaggerating. And that my dad has... When?
Did you ever tell anybody else when you were a child? You heard Diane Vandermolen testify. Do you
Yes.
remember telling her?
No.
Did you complain to your cousin Alan?
No, not about that.
Just about punishment. As a child, did you ever tell anybody else what had happened with your dad?
Yes. As a child, no.
Why not?
I was afraid, and my dad didn't want me to.
What did he tell you about telling people?
He just said that it was our secret. That bad things would happen to me if I told anybody. And I told him I never would.
How old were you when this stopped?
8.
So during the time between 6 and 8, when this was going on, did you tell your brother? Did you do something to your brother?
Yes.
What did you do to your brother?
I took him out to the woods. Whenever I felt, I don't know, I took him out sometimes, and I took a toothbrush also, and I played with Eric.
It stopped for you with your dad when you were 8. When you were about 13, did you think that it might be happening to someone else?
Yes.
And who did you think it was happening to?
Eric.
And did you do something about it?
Yes.
What did you do?
I talked to my dad.
What did you say to your dad?
I told him that I knew what was going on with him and Eric, and I heard the noises, and that I wanted him to leave Eric alone.
And what did he say to you?
He told me that Eric was... that Eric made things up sometimes, but that it would stop, and that we should keep it just between us, or he'd kill me.
Did you ever tell anybody what you thought was going on?
I told him I would never tell anybody. I just wanted to stop.
Did he tell you it would stop?
He did.
And that's as far as I have for today. That's all right.
All right.
Oh my God. I was not expecting that much detail. I should have known it was court. I had to take a breath, like a breather after that, y'all. This whole case so far, we're only on part one. This is the first part, man. The first brother taking the trial, Lyle Menendez. It's like gut right now, y'all. I'm telling y'all, gut wrenching. Jeez, where do I even start with this? I will, first of all, I only fast forward the smaller parts, and then the part with the pictures. I did not want to see that. For a child, you know, obviously real reasons. Also the tennis stuff, it was just going on too long. But where do I start with this? Yeah, I got 3 pages of notes, but I remember everything about the trial. So let me see what I'm gonna start with, y'all. I'm gonna say something, and if you say I'm biased, whatever. Okay, I don't care. I don't even care no more. Oh my God, is it bad to say that the dad got what he deserved? Oh my God, I don't care about the dad. First of all, it's crazy that people don't believe the abuse. That's so weird. The journalist, y'all remember I did that last video, the journalist didn't even believe it. And I'm like, you were in the courtroom during this, sir. Disgusting. He believed that they're telling stories. I'm like, okay, well, if they are, it's a pretty good story. Like, they're very detailed. They remember every little thing. There's pictures. Oh, they're making it up. Like, that don't make no sense. Oh my God. You could even tell about the emotion. Like, this is real. The abuse is 100% real. I'm talking rape. I'm talking sexual abuse, sexual assault, like objects. Like, this is no joke. That man got what he deserved. I don't care. I don't care. I probably would have did it sooner, to be honest. That dad, oh my God. Disgusting, man. I don't like child predators. Child predator, incest, just assault, abuse on both kids, disgusting, didn't care about the mom, child pornography, just, well, yeah, because the pictures, regular pornography, showing everybody. I'm talking about, oh my God. The question is, if they would not have murdered them, would they even have a case? Like, would they even go for him? Would he even go to jail? You have a rich, powerful man. Would he even go to jail? That's a scary thing. I don't even think he would have went to jail. It's hard, because they would have been like, it's hard to prove. But, so we have, y'all, I'm talking about, this is crazy. I really have no remorse for people that do stuff like that, like sexual abuse with children. Disgusting. I'm talking about, this is no joke. And the fact that I went to the comments and everybody was saying the same thing. They were like, the fact that this was on TV and people was making fun of them. I'm like, the same. I'm like, how? The prosecutors only looked at it as them going for inheritance. Okay, first of all, if they were going to try anything, the best thing you could have said was that they wanted revenge. That's exactly what this case is. It's pure revenge, bro. That's what this is. I didn't think I was going to think like this already, but yeah. And you can obviously tell, I would think just the abuse stuff alone, I'm surprised. I didn't even know they mentioned it that much, but just the abuse alone, you would say that this was like a pure revenge. Nothing to do with money. Now, I'm pretty sure in other ones it's gonna, maybe with the part with like I said, it's still 2 parts to it. Still, people still believe other stuff. With the money part, I still don't know about that yet. About them buying cars, maybe, I don't know about that. We'll see that, what they say on that one. But just the abuse alone, because that's what this is about. I'm talking about, I was like actually about to tear up because it was just so freaking detailed. I was like, oh my God. Anybody who has to tell their abuse, this is very traumatic. And that's traumatic to sit in a room full of people. Y'all, I was writing down so much. And oh my goodness. Oh my God. I'm talking about showing, hey, why would you do any of this? I'm talking about the dad. Like, what kind of, you have a man who's obsessed with winning, wanting his kids to be perfect, sexually abusing and raping his kids. Oh my God, that's just a crazy sentence. How did the mom not care? You know, if this is all true, how did she not care? Well, not, I'm talking about, I know the abuse is true. The abuse is so true. I'm talking about with the other thing he said about the mom. The mom said this is making it out like the mom did not care, probably did not. She didn't even want kids. And that's what it kind of gave. It's like, I was over here like, where is the mom in this? And then even when he said that, when he told his mom that he was being abused and stuff, she was like, you got to stop being bad. You deserve to be, you got to be punished. If that's true right there, I'm not trying to say karma, because they her death was definitely just like his. But does she? If she was alive, I would say she would deserve to rot in prison. That's what I would say with that one. Better than saying it that way. This was really heavy. I didn't think it was going to be this heavy, like I said. This was, oh my goodness. I didn't think they came, I'm talking about, I thought the questions I think were going to be all at the end, but they started out, did you kill your parents? Immediate tears. And then he said, yeah. Then they got back to the nice questions. And then, as you see, it's all about the control, and the dad had full control over them kids. He made those kids suffer. They were living in a prison. I would say, yeah, they were rich and stuff, but when they were young, didn't really make friends because they was always this is story, mind you, they're always like, doing the sports and stuff, and just the abuse stuff is the main thing that irks me. And I don't, do I want to say justified with the dad's death? Kinda. Like, you abuse a kid, you deserve death. I don't care. I don't like these people that do that stuff. Anybody who abuses a child deserves to be abolished from the planet. I don't care about these people. I don't care about that dad whatsoever. He got exactly what he deserved. And I'm saying that because I 100% believe that story. Like, the fact that the people don't believe it is what's crazy. They have pictures. Y'all, that's what I skipped. They had pictures of those kids. And it's like, you can see this on national television and still don't believe it is what's crazy to me. Oh my God. He has so much trauma and portrayed that on his brother. That's, and that's literally psychological right there. Y'all, something, I talked to my sister yesterday and I was telling her I was doing this trial, talking about it. And she was like, yeah, they don't deserve to be in prison. And I was curious. I was like, why do you say that? Because she's a psychology major, and she was telling me her ways, and I was like, there you go. I was really curious. It's always interesting to get other people takes on this case. And oh my God, I had to let that go. That was crazy, y'all. I don't even know what more to say. What do y'all think? Leave in the comments. This was something. This is the first trial we talked about. First trial, y'all. And I wanted to talk about it because, like I said, they have their people they believe they did enough time. They believe that some people believe they shouldn't have been in prison. I feel like they would have been in prison no matter what, because you still got to look at the deaths, unfortunately, because with the dad, I don't care about the dad, but they said, it was overkill a lot, but they had a story. I just think they, it's like they were very heavily abused and raped by the dad. Oh my God. So I feel like we would say justified, but them by the law, they look at stuff like, okay, they're only looking at them. That's the thing too. You have the prosecutors only saying money, and I'm like, are y'all not looking at anything else, abuse in here? Because to me, I don't know if it's to y'all. To let me know if y'all think in the comments. I believe it's about the abuse, and maybe them spending money. That's a theory. Maybe them spending money was like them happy that they're dead. And to be honest, if that was the dad, I would probably be happy too. I'm not joking. And that mom, like I said, if she did not die, if this was all true about her part, if she did not get killed in there, I would literally disown her. And I would be like, you rot in hell. I hope you go to prison. I would try my best to get her in prison, but I don't think she would go to prison at all. That's just crazy. That was a heavy trial, y'all. I did not expect to watch this whole thing, but we did. Let me tell you something. I don't know when I'm going to watch the other ones. They're going to be just between when I watch them all. I might just react to them randomly, y'all. But they're going to have to be parts, because this is like the only one I've seen that was like an hour. Everything else 3 hours, 2 hours. I was like, yeah, I can't record that much. And I don't want to upload those long videos like that. I might have to do those and actually do those in parts. I'm talking about like 40 minutes increments, okay? That's it. Because it's too long. But this one, this was a lot. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't even know what to say after this. Oh my God. I feel like I was in court. I took breaks when they took breaks. I went to go get some food. I was like, I need water. I gotta like rehydrate. I was taking notes. I feel like a journalist. Like, this is the reason why it's interesting, is because I think the way people see it. Some people hear the abuse, and this is very detailed. They have pictures. Why would you not believe they were abused? Some people only see the money and that the way they were killed. That's why they're not looking at the abuse. It's like, how can you believe that this was about money just because they killed them and then went spending their money? Which I say it makes sense with that part, but you're not looking at the abuse part. Very detailed. They have pictures. Like, there's a letter they're going to talk about in the next one probably, I think. There's pictures. How would you not believe this? Other people were abused. He had other people in the house. So it's like, how do you not believe that? That's what I don't know. If anybody watching this don't believe it, let me know why you don't believe this. Is it a good story? Because if it is, there's some good actors. This is, I 100% believe this. And I believe that dad got what he deserved. Maybe the shotgun stuff is excessive. He deserved, he died, okay? I don't care about the dad. Maybe if it was like one shotgun and then he died, okay, I'll be like, okay, deserved, because this was actually crazy. And then, like I said, even if he didn't die, I don't think he would have went to jail. It's hard to prove it. Unfortunately, it's hard to prove it. They don't go just by word of mouth when it's just you talking. And even if they had pictures, I feel like he wouldn't have got a lot of time if he was in prison. He deserved death. That dad was disgusting. This is hard to watch, y'all. Oh my God. This video is long enough. What do you guys think? I'm really curious about your thoughts on this. What trials do y'all want to watch? Any? Leave them in the comments. And on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay aware, stay alert. This was something. I've been watching this for like 2 hours because it was like close to 2. Actually, no. Yeah, was it close to 2 hours? It's just because my camera had to charge. I have to like let it calm it down because it was heating up, and yeah, I've been recording for like 2 hours, so this is gonna be fun editing because I have to upload it today. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next ones. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye.